That innocent-looking Crown Vic that just cruised past you? It's basically a military-grade beast wearing a grandma's disguise. We're talking secret escape mechanisms, James Bond-level engineering, and features so bizarre that cops themselves had no idea they existed. I've got stories about trunk releases that saved lives, hidden buttons that prevented carjackings, and one feature so controversial that Ford tried to keep it quiet for years. Buckle up, because what you're about to learn will make you see every police car as the absolute unit of engineering genius that it really is. The Vomit Comet, engineering marvel. Let's start with the most disgusting stroke of genius you'll hear today. You know that hard plastic backseat in cop cars? Yeah. There's a reason it looks like a prison shower. Hidden beneath that seat are strategically placed drainage holes that connect directly to the street below. I'm talking about a built-in pookie chute, people. When someone has explosively decorated the back of your cruiser, you literally wheel it to the car wash, stick a hose in there, and watch the horror drain out onto the pavement like you're emptying a kiddie pool. But here's the insane part. Ford engineers actually tested different hole sizes to find the perfect diameter that would drain liquids fast enough, but wouldn't let solid matter fall through and clog the system. Yes, someone at Ford had the job title Biohazard Drainage Specialist. That person deserves a raise and probably therapy. A cop in New Orleans once told me he could pressure wash his entire back seat in under 2 minutes. The dude timed it. That's not just engineering, that's art. The psychological warfare speedometer. Okay, this one messed with my head when I learned about it. Police car speedometers were deliberately designed to lie to cops. Well, not lie exactly, but seriously manipulate their brains. Check this. A Crown Vic might max out at 130 miles per hour, but the speedometer goes all the way to 160. Why? Mind games. When you're screaming down the highway at 110 miles per hour, your brain sees the needle at the 3/4 mark and thinks, hey, I've got room to breathe. You stay calmer. Your hands don't shake. You don't panic. It's like those fake thermostats in office buildings that don't actually do anything, but make Karen feel like she's in control. Except this one works at speeds that could turn your car into a lawn dart. The California Highway Patrol ran a study in the 80s and found that officers with extended range speedometers had 23% fewer pursuit-related accidents. They were literally tricking their own brains into being better drivers. That's some Inception-level psychology right there. The Spotlight's secret kill switch. Every cop car has that massive spotlight that makes you think you're being abducted by aliens when it hits your rearview mirror. But here's what'll blow your mind. There's a hidden kill switch that most officers never find. It's usually buried under the dash near your left knee, and it exists for one absolutely wild reason: officer safety during carjackings. If someone manages to get into your driver's seat during a scuffle, they can't turn that 1,000-watt spotlight into a weapon or signal their buddies. But the real story? A detective in Detroit discovered his kill switch by accident when his knee hit it during a pursuit. The spotlight died. He thought it was broken. Drove with a broken spotlight for 8 months before someone at the motor pool was like, "Dude, you just flipped the kill switch." 8 months. This guy was filing maintenance reports, complaining to his sergeant, and the whole time there was a secret button his knee kept hitting. The department made him buy donuts for everyone when they figured it out. The door frame that's basically Captain America's shield. Here's where American engineering gets absolutely ridiculous. The door frames on classic Chevy Caprices were so overbuilt, they could literally support the entire weight of the vehicle. We're not talking kinda strong. We're talking flip this 4,000-pound car upside down and the doors will keep you alive strong. GM basically said, what if we made the doors out of vibranium? And then actually did it with steel. But cops discovered something wild. You could use the door frame as a jack point when changing tires. One Texas Highway Patrol officer got a flat in the middle of nowhere. His jack broke, and he literally lifted his car using the door frame and a come-along winch attached to a fence post. What? Ford caught wind of this and was like, wait, we can market this? So they actually started including it in training materials. Hey guys, if your jack fails, just use the door frame like it's a medieval lifting mechanism. Who needs a when your door frame is doing CrossFit? The trunk release sabotage system. This one's straight out of a spy thriller. You know that glow-in-the-dark trunk release handle that's legally required in modern cars so people don't die trapped in trunks? Yeah, cop cars can disable that. There's a hidden switch that completely deactivates the internal trunk release. Why? Because police trunks contain everything from seized weapons to canine equipment. And the last thing you need is someone kicking through your back seat and popping the trunk open like a piñata of evidence and danger. But the Dodge Charger took this to another level. They put it on a 30-minute timer. Disable it, and after half an hour with the engine off, it automatically reactivates so officers don't accidentally leave it disabled forever and create a death trap. Here's the crazy story. A rookie in Phoenix disabled his trunk release to transport evidence, forgot about it, and during a pursuit, the suspect's accomplice tried to pop the trunk to grab something. Nothing happened. The accomplice sat confused while backup arrived. That forgotten safety feature accidentally prevented an evidence tampering charge. Sometimes the best features are the ones you forget about. The snitch that lives in your dashboard. Every cop car has an odometer. Duh. But hidden deep in the computer is a second odometer that counts something way more brutal. Idle hours. Cops sit in their cars. A lot. Like 60% of engine time is just sitting there. And this little digital tattletale is tracking every single minute, snitching on the engine's real wear and tear. Here's why this matters. Some genius at an auction buys a Crown Vic with 75,000 miles thinking they got a steal. What they don't know is that car idled for 6,000 hours, which means the engine's actual wear is equivalent to about 200,000 miles. That low-mileage gem is actually a ticking time bomb of needed maintenance. Smart mechanics know how to access this data and will absolutely roast unsuspecting auction buyers. Oh, you thought 80K miles was good? This thing's been through the equivalent of 3 cross-country road trips while parked. The best part? Most people who buy retired cop cars have no clue this exists. There are dudes right now driving around thinking they got a great deal, and their engine is silently laughing at them. The bulletproof door that isn't really bulletproof. Some departments installed ballistic panels in their car doors, especially in cities where shots fired is basically the background music of daily life. But here's the sneaky part. They only bulletproofed part of the door. Think about it. A fully armored door would weigh so much the car would drive like a drunk shopping cart. So engineers got smart. They only armored the kill zone, the area from the door handle to shoulder height when you're sitting down, the most likely bullet trajectory. Everything else? Regular door. From the outside, you'd never know. The door looks completely normal. And here's the insane story. An LAPD officer in the late 90s took fire during a traffic stop, ducked behind his door more out of instinct than anything, and later found a 9mm round embedded in his door panel. It would have hit him square in the chest. That door literally saved his life, and he had no idea it was special until it stopped a bullet. That's the most gangster thank you I've ever heard. The alternator that could power a small city. Police car alternators are beasts. We're talking 200 amps when civilian cars are running 130. Why? Because cop cars are basically rolling Best Buy stores with radios, computers, light bars, radars, cameras, and sometimes equipment that needs federal clearance before mentioning. But here's the secret weapon. These alternators have a priority system. When the electrical load gets too high, the car starts making Sophie's choice decisions about what to shut down. Lights inside the car? Gone. Air conditioning? See ya. But radios and emergency lights? Those stay on till the battery literally catches fire. Cops call it the Christmas tree effect, because you can watch your dashboard lights blink off one by one, like someone's pulling bulbs off a tree. One officer in Arizona told me during a summer pursuit with everything running, his AC shut off, his interior lights died, even his radio display dimmed, but his light bar and siren kept screaming like nothing was wrong. The car was literally prioritizing catch bad guy over don't let officer die of heat stroke. Savage, but effective.
The rear defogger nobody wants. This sounds boring until you realize it's actually 4D chess. Police cars have a lockout switch for the rear window defogger. Why would you not want to see out the back? Great question, hypothetical audience member. During surveillance ops, a slightly fogged rear window provides natural concealment without looking suspicious. Tint is obvious, curtains are weird, but a fogged window? That's just normal car stuff. But the real reason is way more practical. Rear defoggers are electricity vampires. During extended stakeouts with everything running, that defogger can drain your battery faster than the alternator can keep up. So, hidden switch. Problem solved. The Chevy Caprice 9C1 hid this switch in the glove box behind a false panel. One officer found it by accident when he dropped his registration during a traffic stop and noticed a weird button while fumbling around. He pushed it. Nothing happened. Forgot about it. 3 months later, during winter, he couldn't figure out why his rear defogger wouldn't work. Went to the mechanic, who just opened the glove box and flipped the switch back. The mechanic didn't even charge him, just laughed for 5 straight minutes. The partition's secret confessional. That bulletproof barrier between front and back seats usually has a sliding window for communication, standard stuff. But many cruisers have a secret voice port at the bottom that nobody talks about. It's basically a curved pipe running through the partition at floor level. Sound travels through it, but you can't see it, you can't spit through it, and you can't stick anything through it. It's acoustic spying built into your car. Why does this exist? Because when you've got someone in the back who's being uncooperative, you don't want to open that window and give them a target, but you do want to hear what they're mumbling about. Michigan State Police had these in the 80s, and one trooper thought he was losing his mind because he kept hearing whispers from the back seat with the partition window closed. He even requested a psych eval. Turns out, his passenger was quietly confessing to multiple crimes through the voice port, and this poor guy thought he was developing schizophrenia. The confession was admissible in court because the suspect had no reasonable expectation of privacy. The trooper's sanity? Restored. His ego? Absolutely destroyed when his entire department found out he almost committed himself because he didn't know about the voice tube. The "oh crap" button that saves your engine. Southern State Patrol cars have a hidden switch that sounds like science fiction, an emergency cooling system override that basically tells your engine computer, "I don't care what you think, cool this thing down now." During high-speed chases in summer heat, engines can overheat even when everything's mechanically perfect. This override forces maximum coolant flow and runs the fan at 100%, regardless of what the sensors say. Florida Highway Patrol called it the "Not Today, Satan" button. Hit it during a pursuit, and your engine runs cooler, but less efficiently.
It's the automotive equivalent of chugging ice water during a marathon. Not optimal, but better than dying. Here's the legendary story. A trooper in the Keys was chasing a suspect on a 95-degree day. Engine temp starts climbing. He slams the override button his training officer showed him 6 years earlier. The engine temp drops 15 degrees instantly. He catches the suspect, and when mechanics check the car later, they find the thermostat was actually starting to fail. That override button prevented a breakdown that would have let a felon escape. The button literally saved the day. Someone at Ford who designed that deserves a statue. The seat rails that speak percentile. Before memory seats, cop cars had something genius: mathematical seat positions based on actual human height data from police academies. Those notches on the seat rails? They're not random. They correspond to percentile male and female heights. It's science. Any officer could jump into any cruiser in the fleet, slide to their notch, and be perfectly positioned for pedals and steering. But here's what's wild. One department calculated they saved 30 seconds per officer per shift. Multiply that across 500 officers over a year, that's 2,500 hours of collective time saved, just by having smart notches on a seat rail. That's not just engineering, that's respecting people's time at a molecular level. Somewhere, an efficiency consultant is weeping tears of joy.
The laptop mount that's secretly saving lives.
Those laptop mounts in cop cars look random, but they're positioned with sniper-level precision. The angle avoids sun glare, sure, but here's the secret. In frontal collisions, that laptop and mount act as an improvised blast shield. Ford engineers discovered this by accident during crash testing. The laptop mount was absorbing and deflecting energy away from the officer's chest. Ford quietly sent out a memo: don't remove the laptop mounts, even if you're not using computers. Why? Because crash data showed better outcomes with the mounts installed. Some departments started calling it the third airbag, but nobody marketed this because our computers might save you in a crash is the weirdest selling point ever. The fuel door that screams. Police car fuel doors don't have locks, which seems insane until you realize it's genius. But the real magic is this. The release mechanism is deliberately designed to be loud. When you pull that lever inside a Crown Vic, it makes a distinctive clunk you can hear waiting for your turn in your own car at gas stations. It's an anti-tampering alert disguised as normal mechanical operation. No confusion. But Dodge took it nuclear. The Charger Pursuit package has a pressure sensor that triggers a dashboard alert if the fuel door opens while the car is locked and the key isn't in the ignition. Sugar in the gas tank might be a movie cliché, but departments were genuinely worried about sabotage. This simple feature prevented countless revenge attempts from angry criminals who knew which car belonged to the officer who arrested them. The rear heater cruelty feature. Cop cars can disable rear seat heating independently from the front. Sounds harsh, right? Like something out of a prison torture manual? Actually, it's smart. During winter prisoner transport, officers stay comfortable while preventing suspects from getting too cozy. But the real reason? Battery management. Again, rear heaters are power hungry. During extended idle time, you can shut them off while keeping the front toasty. The hidden switch looks like a regular climate control button, but controls a separate circuit. Chevy Caprices labeled it rear defrost, but it controlled the heater too. Sneaky. One Vermont trooper didn't discover this until year 11 of his career, and only because another officer showed him during a brutal stakeout. He'd been letting prisoners stay warm for over a decade because he didn't know he could turn it off. His department roasted him endlessly. Officer Friendly over here running a heated taxi service for criminals. He never lived it down, but honestly, seems like a decent human to me. Cold criminals are still people, but yeah, funny that he never knew the button existed. The brake pedal snitch. This one's devious.
Many cop cars from the late 90s onward had brake pedal pressure sensors feeding data to the onboard computer. Who cares? You should. Because this data is evidence. The computer tracks brake pressure for maintenance, predicting brake pad wear. But departments realized they could use it for accident investigations. Did the officer actually try to brake before a collision? The computer knows. Crown Vic stored the last 30 seconds of brake pedal data before any airbag deployment. It's a black box before black boxes were mandatory. This feature has exonerated officers and ended careers. One officer claimed he slammed on the brakes before hitting a suspect's vehicle. Data showed, barely touched them. Career over. But it also saved an officer in Nevada who was accused of ramming a suspect's car intentionally. The data showed he applied maximum brake pressure 3 full seconds before impact, proving he tried to avoid the collision. The lawsuit was dropped instantly. The door ding silencer. Civilian car door ajar warnings are annoying. That constant ding, ding, ding makes you want to drive into a lake. Police cars? They can silence that noise. Hidden switch, usually under the dash or behind the rearview mirror, disables door ajar warnings. Perfect for stakeouts where you need to crack a door for ventilation or quick exits without sounding like an ice cream truck. But here's the smart part. You can disable front door warnings while keeping rear door warnings active. Why? So you know immediately if your buddies in the back tries anything. The Crown Vic had a 3-position switch: normal, front disable, all disable. Most officers drove their entire careers without knowing it existed. One deputy in Michigan discovered his after parking under a tree branch that kept triggering his door sensor. The constant dinging was driving him insane. He mentioned it to a senior officer who just reached up, flipped a switch behind the mirror, and the dinging stopped. The deputy just stared. How long has that been there? Since 1998? I've been going insane for 3 years. Yeah, we noticed. Cops are savage to each other, and I respect that. Transmission lock that stops carjackers. Some police interceptors had a secret secondary transmission lock that prevented shifting out of park without a specific sequence. Not just press the brake, but press the brake and hit this hidden button. The Chevy Impala 9C1 had a button hidden under the shift boot that had to be pressed simultaneously with the brake pedal. Officers never thought about it because their hands naturally found it. But someone unfamiliar? They'd panic and fail. One department reported a suspect who got into a running cruiser during a foot chase. He spent 45 seconds frantically trying to shift into gear while the officer ran back and apprehended him. The suspect was literally sitting in a running car with the keys in it and could not make it move. Imagine being that criminal. You've got the getaway car running, keys in the ignition, and you're mashing buttons like you're playing Street Fighter while the cop you just ran from is jogging back to arrest you. That's not just security. That's cosmic humiliation. And I love it. The antenna array secret language. Those multiple antennas on cop cars? Some are fake. Departments installed dummy antennas to confuse criminals about which frequencies were being monitored. But here's where it gets insane. The antenna configuration was actually a secret code. Different patterns identified different vehicle types. Detectives had different arrays than patrol cars, which were different from command vehicles. It was law enforcement semaphore. If you knew the code, you could identify an unmarked detective car just by counting antennas. Some agencies swapped configurations monthly to prevent criminals from learning the patterns. The NYPD in the 90s had over 30 different configurations in use simultaneously across their fleet. Imagine being a criminal trying to track this. Okay, 3 antennas means patrol. But wait, now 3 antennas is detectives? Or wait, that was last month's code. You'd need a whole spreadsheet. A criminal database administrator.
Karen from accounting tracking antenna patterns in Excel. The complexity alone probably prevented more crime than the actual surveillance did. Criminals gave up because the homework was too hard. The computer that remembers everything. Final boss feature. Retired police cars have hidden maintenance logs in their computer systems that are basically a full confession of how hard the car was driven. These logs record everything: brake applications, high RPM hours, idle time, even how many times lights and sirens were activated. It's a snitch that can't be silenced. Ford's system could generate a report that told you the vehicle's entire life story. But most auction buyers had no idea this existed. Smart mechanics would download this data and destroy dreams. Yeah, you see 85,000 miles, but this car was in 47 pursuit situations and idled for 4,200 hours. You're actually looking at the equivalent of 180,000 hard miles of city driving while carrying an elephant. It's like Carfax on steroids, built into the vehicle itself, and almost nobody knew how to access it. Shops that knew about this made fortunes at police auctions. They'd buy the high-mileage cars that were actually babied and avoid the low-mileage cars that were beaten like rented mules. Knowledge is power. And in this case, knowledge is also a sweet Crown Vic with actual low wear that you got for $2,000 because everyone else was scared of the mileage. And that is why classic American police cars are the most underrated engineering marvels ever built. These weren't just civilian cars with light bars. They were purpose-built machines with decades of cop wisdom baked into every button, switch, and secret feature. If you learned something insane today, absolutely smash that like button. Subscribe for more automotive deep dives that'll make you look at regular cars and think they're boring. And drop a comment about the craziest police car story you've ever heard. Until next time, remember, that Crown Vic at the used car lot? It's seen things. Terrible, wonderful, hilarious things. And now, you know its secrets. Peace.